Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Rooks Fun, and I'll be your guide on this meditation through the act of drawing. We look here at presence, at our senses, our engagement internally and then externally through the page. That pen or pencil or any other drawing implement you choose to work with is your interface between a medium, paper, and the medium of our creativity and our mind. So we'll use this week to envision something from a past, a shape, an object, a thing that stands out. Try to bring it into focus in our vision behind our eyes to use that combination of memory and projection, and then see where that may enter our space of the page, to explore it, to zoom in and out, to detail and shape, to find movement in the drawing, and then expand that and take it wherever it may go. Over the weekend, I started a rewatching of the newer Blade Runner 2049 movie, and the opening scene focus in on the eye, that window between us and the world that we take things in, process, and read through others, reminded me of the original and its similar focus early on, perhaps the place to find that human thing. And then I was reminded as a kid, young, teenager, older, child, a fascination with drawing eyes on paper and sketchbooks and everything. So for myself, that will be the image that comes to mind. But for you, it could be anything. What did you draw as a child? If you didn't draw as a child, what things fascinated you? What did you see last week that caught your attention, that brought an appreciation of beauty or interest? Or perhaps just what is in front of you, looking across the room, a cat, a plant, a flower, a bookshelf, camera equipment, whatever it may be that you have there to fix into your internal vision and then express outward. This might be a little messy, so I'm going to explore using the pencil in a little less precise way, holding it out like a brush, kind of moving in strokes, not as precise as the writing, but we'll experiment with how that goes. A little more gesture to avoid trying to over detail something that may flicker, move, flash in and out of focus as we train our mindfulness on that image behind our eyes. All you need is pen or pencil or you want to draw with, something you'd like to explore, a pad of paper or sketchbook, and a little bit of time. So gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. We'll take the sketch part, the warm-up part here, to think back and remember something that you've captured in your eye a bit, whether that's through drawing and sketching or maybe photography or just interest in the media, from a time that's something that can kind of hold a bit of an image at different levels of detail, and you'll see where that image starts us off and takes us. It doesn't, everyone's in their own private space, so whatever your drawing ends up kind of looking like, whether it's good or bad, representational or not really important for this, but just a place to begin. And I may even consider drawing in a little bit of an abstract way to reduce some adherence to how it looks and just go with what the image is inside. So I'm going to try holding my pencil more like a brush, like out further, broader strokes, a little less accurate, but feel free to draw with what's comfortable for you. It'll take a minute before the pen or pencil engage with a piece of scrap or a page in the sketchbook and just bring some image of something that fascinated or caught your eye at a time, recent or far, whatever it might be, that's maybe inspired some appreciation of beauty or creativity from your experience. And take a breath in and let that image wander there in front of the eyes, open or closed, whichever helps to see it. And as you find something, whether it's clear or a little foggy, you can bring that into the space of the page just by beginning a few lines around its edges. A shape that might have caught our attention, that kind of wandering, searching stroke, a little bit of a sketch at first, not necessarily yet fully confident or engaged, just finding the boundary or outline of whatever image comes into your internal vision. That overlap between memory, things recorded, into the larger network of our mind, and the more primal, simple stage of images captured in that visual cortex, held onto for the memory of their place in the world, their friend or foe system, their possible food or danger system. Some combination of those two, of things that strike us, catch our attention. And in the warm-up, where we're just moving the pen or pencil around a bit, trying to find some of the outlines there, some of the edges, look for what we see in our imagination. Might try a few different versions just to reach around it, maybe rotate it or zoom in and out to that image. Take that time to establish it. It could be a thing in the world, it could just be a shape. And if nothing comes to mind, you can always look in front of us, whatever may be there in your general vision, pencil sharpener, your hand, watch, camera equipment, whatever's out there, and work with that as well. No need to get too stuck if nothing's drawing you in. This just starts a play of shape, meditating on what attracts us to maybe a thing or shape. Why the eye, I don't know. It just popped into my head before starting today. But if you feel ready to move to a larger format or keep sketching on a new page, whichever feels good to you right now, again, we'll take a moment to let that image resolve a bit, to connect between what we may have seen on the page of the sketching and what we hold in our representation in our mind. Take a couple of breaths to really fill out the space of the lungs and the torso cavity, expanding and then letting it flow out to sink in and establish just a nice, comfortable position that you can hold for the next 20 minutes while you bring your attention and mindfulness to the act in front of you of the drawing. And if you'd like to work with eyes open or closed, feel free to explore, depending on how that image resolves for you. Just beginning by forming, again, the outline, maybe lightly, the chance to perhaps experiment a little with the holding of the pen or pencil, the movement of the arm, sometimes changing up a common position from that more writing, typical pen or pencil drawing exercise to a more stroke, brush-based feeling. Could challenge our conception of how the drawing should look, can open up a bit of opportunity for motion, can soften some of the precision of edges, things that can cause our focus to be on the outcome and open us up to let the focus be on the action, the here and now. And as you scan through the image that you see internally in your mind, and you find a detail, an edge, a surface, shape, to zoom in on a little bit, to think on and bring that attention to, and let that attention contracting to just an edge, just a small region, guide the hand. Let it move. It may have to go over a few times. You have to experiment to find that edge here out through our hand, through a pen or pencil, onto a paper. But as you play in that space, you can take a break at any time and close the eyes and find that edge and look just a little further out from it. What's next to it, under it, adjacent. And you begin to move like a blind contour just along those edges. The light glinting off, the color shifting next to another texture. Things that begin to define shape and form for us. And like our imagination, it probably squirms as we try to hold on to that image. Little bits flickering into detail and then dropping out again. And let that come and go. The passing of resolution and attention, like the passing of thoughts just through the mind. We can try to gently guide it back to something we're looking at, something we're focusing on. As our eyes, if open, may still be active on the outside, pulling us in to what they see new. The shapes, the texture, the intensity on the page. And that all comes together in this one space or moment. This one set of actions holding one thing in the mind for a short time. And as you draw, when you reach towards a resolution of things, seeing it out as much as a seeing it in, feel free to take a breath to reestablish and rescan through that internal image, finding perhaps new areas of attention, a new region to explore and resolve, a new chance to feel out the pen or pencil in a different way, shorten or lengthen the grip a little bit. For small, detailed work, reach further in towards the affecting end of the pen or pencil. For larger, gestural work, letting the hand be further away, that there's more force in the engagement between the two mediums. And if those details are resolving, bringing new inspiration for motion, for line, keep following them along. Perhaps the image is drifting more towards something we remember or see. Perhaps it's drifting further away as our engagement with the hand and the pen or the pencil starts to challenge technique or skill. For me here, something has figured or formed, and I think has opened a chance to begin to build off of that. For me, as I sit and draw this, and let it come into my mind, I see or look at the interests more in the shape than the object. And maybe that's just old memory or new training, but perhaps you can find in some of the edges something new to explore. Extending out or letting the details work deeper in. And in this phase, as we've found some shape, some expression out onto the paper, can we now bring our attention more into that playful space of how we hold or engage with the pen or pencil? And it might be different for either instrument. A pen still requiring some precision in its orientation to the page, a little feedback to our looseness. A pencil maybe offering a little bit more flexibility or smushiness depending on your preference or feeling there. You can always change instruments to experiment, but as you do, let's bring our attention onto the tips of the fingers. How are they engaging with and meeting the pencil? That may mean a bit of a slowing down, perhaps in speed, a literal slowing down. Or perhaps it's just in the focus and attention that we feel where the pen's round, soft edges or lack of edges press into our fingertips, or the pencil's ridges dig a little deeper to the pads, the edge of our hand. As you press through a stroke, where do the pressures begin? Where do they move? Where do they end? This direction changes, the fingers, the hands adapting, gently rolling, sliding, repositioning the instrument, a fine interaction of the little expansion and contraction of the muscles, tensioning and loosening of the sinew, the firing, activation of the nerves, all guided and working together from the mind, its interaction here between the page, the external, and the vision, the sensing in, the touch, the understanding of that presence before us. And other places that the hand and the pencil meet. For instance, in this grip, mine tends to press with the end into my palm, giving me some other feelings of control or interface there. I can use that to give more pressure. It may also interfere with certain movements, providing constraint. Sensing the subtle. And again, observing how our attention stays there. In my speaking, drawing connection, it's easy for the attention to drift. At any time, taking a breath, maybe a short repose, letting things settle or calm. And then bringing the attention back just into the moment for a while. If your page is beginning to fill, finding new space to explore outwards, contracts and takes us back in, perhaps to some of the details of edges, to shade or color, to texture, finding new expression as the drawing drifts from the original starting place. Perhaps looks like or drifts far away from that original memory, now long shifted probably to the back of the mind, breathed away through the action of the pen or pencil. Present, here, visually in our space, something to reference the reference. I think we'll take the next 5 minutes or so to just draw with what we've found. Looking further into the space between edges, bringing detail, or continuing to expand the expression of things. And just playing in your new field of lines, curves, shapes, and edges. You engage in these exercises or any practice, it may involve a little doodling or sketching or just letting that mind, hand, eye, external expression merging to happen. Drawing, writing, making something, to find some space for a few minutes to explore different medium, different ways that the same or similar action and technique might cause unique results outward on the page. Today I'm using a 3B, weird number, 3B pencil, something a little heavier, a little more loose graphite, a little silkier motion, but mushier to be with speed. A standard pencil that you write with probably is around an HB, something like that. Pens with thick tips or thin tips, just different things you can bring into the experience of the hand. The more it feels, tests, seeks out, builds that catalog or repertoire, how things interact with the world, builds index of intuition, builds flexibility, and lets creativity work through many mediums or modes. We have a few more minutes happening in the practice. If you'd like to continue to draw on what you're working on, feel free. I'm going to begin winding down all of this attention to vision and the eye for myself. The thinking eye, the internal eye, as well as this one we use right now to see what's on the page. Give it a little break. Myself, put the pencil down just to relax the fingers. Close the eyes, give them a bit of a good squeeze just to flex the muscles and the fluids. And then on an out breath, open, looking ahead at the paper around the room, moving the head side to side, up and down, just to scan and let in what you might see. Gonna go through it again. Take a breath in and let the eyes close firmly. And then they open with the out breath, letting in fresh light, re-engaging all of the near and far, flexing of the muscles here on the page or on a screen. We're always focused very near, giving them that chance to look outward. If you have a window, to look far. Taking those breaks from attention throughout the day just to let the body recalibrate. I always find it inspiring and a bit fascinating how many lines, shapes, and strokes can come out of just 20 minutes or so of finding that space for a bit of deliberate practice here into that mindful space of how we connect through the act of drawing. Just also in time to doodle, time to reach in and express outwards. Maybe that's a journal, maybe that's a drawing, maybe a little bit of both. That's often how it is for me. I start writing and then have thoughts that are more image-based, begin to doodle and sketch, and then my letters expand and turn into curves, and then I come back to writing again, just as a way to let things come out. That next page turns, that stuff goes away, we start again the next day. That's how I think of these exercises. You might like and be fascinated by what comes out on the page, and can you take that somewhere else, into the space of a more long-form creativity? Or if what you drew is kind of a mess and a jumble, a hairball of lines, something coming from within that needed to get out but is now finished, fold it in half, recycle it, use the back for notes, let it continue on out into the world, out of yourself, as an expression of that moment. Well, I hope you liked the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up below, share it with your friends, and hopefully bring more people here to experience the mindful drawing practices on this channel. I post new episodes of the drawing usually every Wednesday. Go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to get them here on YouTube. I hope your day and the rest of your week can be full of creativity, and you can find a little bit of expression through this act of mindful drawing. This is Rooks is Fun, signing off. Draw well. Thank you.